you talk about pop music and you talk about like just generic great sing-along songs or just in some of the best pop music I've heard possibly ever in the 2000s, in my opinion, I immediately think of Katy Perry's Teenage Dream. So I'm going to go through track by track really quick here for a second. And yes, we're ranking these out of 10. So here, there's a couple of 10s on here for me personally, but I'll get to those in a second. All right. This album starts off with a banger known as Teenage Dream. I love this track. The moment I heard this track, I was in love with this album from start to finish. It's a great opening track. The title track, it's a title track, JT. Of course, you're going to love it. Well, yes, I do love this song. It's a great title track, in my opinion. And it sets the mood for where you're going to go in future tracks down this album from start to finish, from 1 to 12. But yeah, Teenage Dream, 10 out of 10. Straight up 10 out of 10. It's pure 2000s pop to a T. Great track to start off, from my opinion. Then you go to Last Friday Night, TGIF. It's the funniest thing ever. You know, listening to it back then in 2010, 2011, when these songs were heavily played on the radio and charting like crazy. I will say that there's one line in this song though that makes me cringe. Fest.
Charting or charting? I just want to clear that up.
Oh, it says charting, baby. We're talking about the
Okay, I'm sorry. My sound on this side cut out.
I'm not sharding. I promise you. If I was sharding, don't worry.
It's all cleared up now. So
yes. Yes, exactly. Mike's in for a treat tonight. He's like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard." Next to CeeLo Green's The Lady Killer. What? Of course, no. But Last Friday Night, TGI. There's some lines that did not hold up well as I thought it would, but I still think musically it's still a bop. It's still a great pop song. The line
we're talking about, yeah.
The line, you're gonna laugh at this, but I was listening to it again today, and I was like, "Oh my god." That was such an epic fail. That line was like, it fits the time. Great. What's that?
It held up great.
I guess so. To me, it's still a 10 out of 10. It was just every time I hear the one, I'm like, oof, my childhood. It's right in the childhood right there a little bit. It's like, if I have an epic fail, wow, yikes. But it's still a great track overall. Musically, it's great. It's got like, you know, it hitting the bars, hitting the cruise, hitting the scene, if you will, going out, meeting ladies, doing whatever you got to do. Last Friday Night, TGIF, 10 out of 10 for me. So far, so good, right? California Girls, not the Beach Boys track. Because I remember when the song first came out, I remember Mike Love of the Beach Boys, for whatever reason, was bashing this song because it's the same exact title and it was getting so much publicity. For whatever reason, I remember Mike Love just bashing it completely, but I don't care. It's a great track. Another 10 out of 10 featuring the almighty Snoop Dogg.
Imagine getting so bent out of shape and butthurt that someone used the same song title.
I know, right? Like Love with the LUV. Oh my God, who cares, right?
You know the amount of bands that would get pissed off about other bands using the word holiday as their title?
Or, I don't know, New Year's Day, another one of those. I can think of three off the top of my head.
I do want to make a comment that Kyle specifically said when people spell words wrong, it makes him mad.
I can't stand the way it's spelled in this title.
So neither.
You must have raged out on this song and gave it a terrible rating, I guess.
No, because it doesn't affect the ratings.
Oh, it
doesn't affect the ratings. Yeah, see, there you go.
I see. All right.
But California Girls featuring Snoop Dogg with a different spelling of Gurls, whatever. It's annoying, yes, but that doesn't affect the song here at all. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's such a bump. It screams like that mid 2000s vibe as well. It's like, I'm gonna go to the beach and play California Girls, whatever, right? Yeah, whatever. But yeah, It's fantastic. And Snoop Dogg's featuring it. It really worked out perfectly for me with this. 10 out of 10. There's 3 straight 10 out of 10s for me personally on this. You can see my childhood I was so alone as a kid. Hey, Katy Perry, you and me, we got this. It's like, hey. And then we get to the 11 out of 10 on this album. The 11 out of 10 for this record is Firework by Katy Perry. I love this song so much. I started listening to it again in my own separate playlist again on Spotify after the fact of I forgot how much I love this song. It's such I'm not gonna say stupid, but it's such like a goofy, fun, like pop, bubblegum pop song. And you can make so much out of it. To this day, it holds up still. This is an 11 out of 10, gentlemen. Firework. You want to talk about pop music in the 2000s? You have to mention Firework by Katy Perry. 11 out of 10. Fantastic track. I forgot how much I love it to this day. And the music video is hysterical for it too. It's just a firework coming out of her chest or whatever. It's like, oh my God, she blew up. Whatever, right? It's hysterical. Yeah, if you haven't seen the music video, check it out immediately online, of course, after you've watched us and view us. Now we get to some tracks that were not as good, but held up more than I remember them initially, because they weren't like big on the radio heavily as much as Teenage Dream, Last Friday Night, California Girls, Firework, and the other two I'm about to mention as well. But the Peacock song, it's not bad, but it's nowhere near the first 4 tracks for me. It's a solid like 7.5, almost 8 out of 10 for me. It's not great, but it still holds up. It's like, all right, it fits the context of the record. It fits the context of the pop record of the 2000s and whatnot. So Peacock 7.5, pushing an 8 out of 10 a little bit for me personally. Circle the Drain, I completely forgot this song existed. If I'm being honest with you, I was like, because you're so used to hearing Teenage Dream, Last Friday Night, Firework, all the singles, E.T., the one that got away on the radio. You're so used to hearing the big hit singles, like all 6 of them. You're hearing all 6 of them, and you forget about kind of deeper tracks from Katy Perry, like Circle the Drain. It's not bad. Again, it's very similar vein as Peacock. It's not bad. It's not great. This is actually a solid like 7 out of 10, just a little bit lower than Peacock. Okay, it's not bad, but it's not great like the other first 4 tracks. The first 4 tracks ripped through the record perfectly, in my opinion. Track number 7, the one that got away. It took me a little while to actually like. I'm saying this on air, and I don't give a shit at all. I keep my show PG-13 for a reason, but I'm saying this one right now. The one that got away. The lyric writing, I really appreciate a lot, more than I did before. For whatever reason, I always cried when I heard it. Yes, I'm a grown man. I'm 25 years old. I can admit that on camera and on air, whatever. I don't care. But the one that got away is a very emotional song for me personally. It's about like this high school lover and how you get matching tattoos, and you're like, oh my God, and puppy love, and then reality hits, and that's the person that got away from you. It's a really hard-hitting song, but it's got a pop beat to it with the drums. That's what kind of keep it upbeat, but it sounds optimistic, but at the same time, it's very sad. There's actually an acoustic version of this song on one of her compilation records. I forget which one it was, but she did an acoustic just to her and the guitar, and that one hits hard. You want to sound really emotional? Listen to the one that got away on the acoustic guitar only. It's very sad and it's very emotional. It makes me cry. I'm not gonna lie. I was going through it again. I was like, I actually started crying in the car listening to it. Yes, I said that out live. I don't care. This is a great album nonetheless. Let's keep going. E.T. Not the extraterrestrial. I'm just kidding, everyone. Sorry. This is a song that I forgot about completely until we went back and revisited this for our podcast as we spun the wheel. I forgot how much I enjoyed E.T. and the song itself sounds like mysterious enough to the point where you can hear like, it sounds like hypnotizing. I'm thinking the lyrics all of a sudden. Like it just sounds so alien-like, if you will. And as Tom DeLonge once said recently, that aliens do exist. Let's be real. He did say that, and it's basically true at this point. But E.T., I really like this track. This is solid 8 out of 10. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. I love this track. This is
apparently
really...
the producers were like characters from like G.I. Joe or something. Like
exactly.
I don't know, like what's going on with Ammo
Dr.
and
Luke,
Max Martin.
Ammo and Martin. Oh my God.
Max Martin sounds like Lex Luthor,
That's Superman's
like
arch enemy.
Super villain. I'm Max
Martin. Lex Luthor, Superman's arch enemy. Just saying.
I'm
Wrong
Ammo.
universe, damn it. Wrong universe, Mike. But E.T., an 8 out of 10. I forgot how much I enjoyed this pop song, and it's a great track. It really brought up the rest of the record a little bit more than the one that got away. Did I get my rating for the one that got away? That's a 10 out of 10 for me. I love that song. It's very sad. It's emotional, but it's a 10 out of 10. I do love that track a lot, but much more than I initially did. Sorry, 10 out of 10. E.T.'s an 8 out of 10. We're kind of we went through a couple hills and valleys. Now we're getting to the lower part of the record where it still holds up, but not as much for me. But E.T., the extraterrestrial, I think of the movie E.T. the song. Sorry, E.T. the song is a great pop song. Just it fit the time. It doesn't feel as dated as I thought it would be, but it does sound like it came from that time period, which is still good nonetheless. Is 8 out of 10. Now we get to the rest of the record, which I have to say I don't remember and nearly as much as I thought I did until listening to this record over and over again to prep for our stream tonight in our podcast. But Who Am I Living For? And let me just preface by saying this: the last 4 tracks are not they don't hold up as much as I thought they would, but they're still like good nonetheless for me. So actually, I'm just going to brand them really quick. Who Am I Living For is a solid. What I have for I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry. It's a solid 6 out of 10. It's not great, but this is where the album kind of it peters off a little bit, in my opinion. It goes a little bit too long, just a smidge. Who Am I Living For and Pearl, Hummingbird Heartbeat, and Not Like the Movies. These are 4 tracks that are just really they're good, and they're kind of forgotten about because the first 2/3 of the record have like really, really, really well-known pop hits on them. But these 4 tracks at the bottom here, Who Am I Living For, Pearl, Hummingbird Heartbeat, and Not Like the Movies are still, to me, they're still very good. They just don't hold the candle as much as I thought they would going back and listening to the whole album. Because when I first heard this album, back in 2010, when it came out, I was hooked instantly. I was like, the Teenage Dream, California Girls, Firework, whatever, right? Big fan of the songs. The part of the record where it starts to dip a little bit more in quality for me personally is the last 4 tracks. They're not as memorable. They're still good, but they're just not as memorable. They're not as more prominent as the hits on the record beforehand. So 7 out of 10 for Who Am I Living For, 7 out of 10 for Pearl. Hummingbird Heartbeat actually lies at about a 6.5. So we're getting a little lower, and Not Like the Movies is all 6.5 out of 10 as well. So not that bad, but not that great in my opinion, because the more I listen to it over and over again, you could have done without a little bit of them, but at the same time, they're on the record, and I had to rate them for what they were. So that's just me personally for those 4 last tracks. But overall, though, man, going back and listening to a pop album from 2010, oh my God, this was a trip down memory lane for me personally. I was taken back by how much I enjoyed a lot more of these tracks than I thought I did. The album does have some hills and valleys, if you will. Like, we go up a little bit, then we go down a little bit, then we go up again, we go down a little bit more. Like I said, the last 4 tracks on the record for me personally are not as good, but they're still good nonetheless because they fit the context of the time they were produced and written and made in. It's funny. Actually, it reminds me almost. Kyle and I did this before Mike even came on to us. We talked about Panic at the Disco's Death of a Bachelor album, which had 9 songs on it, but the last 2 or 3 were they were good, but they weren't they weren't fully they weren't like as memorable as the first 2/3 of the record. That's kind of how I feel about this as well. The more I thought about it, was that this record has so many great hits on it, and the hits really do hold up after time. They hold up after over 10 years now. And the deeper cuts on the record are still good, but they're not as good as I remember them back then, of course, because they just didn't hold up as much as I thought they would. But nonetheless, though, this is a solid. I can't believe I'm saying this. And this is an 8.5 out of 10, man. I was surprised about how much I re-enjoyed listening to this record over and over again to prep for our stream tonight. And Katy Perry, you are a great pop singer. What are you doing on American Idol? Get off it. Start touring again. I'd love to see it. Just want to say that out loud.
What was the rating you said? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
I said 8.5 because the really good songs like Teenage Dream, Last Friday Night, California Girls, Firework, the one that got away, E.T., the bigger hits on the record hold it up a lot more. The one thing that brought it down from I was getting close to 9. The more I thought about it, I said, it's an 8.5 because the last 4 tracks are not as memorable, and the middle 2 songs of Peacock and Circle the Drain are not as memorable as the same way, but the track list and the placement on each track made me think, okay, this is still a solid pop record overall. In my opinion, probably the best pop record we got at the time. That's why I'm saying an 8.5 out of 10 for me personally for Katy Perry's Teenage Dream.